In this short video, we'll discuss the BGP split horizon rule. So the rule stated here in blue is only the routes learned via eBGP can safely be propagated to iBGP peers. In other words, only the routes that I learned from an external partner can be advertised to my internal partners. So before I look at this example, let me quickly talk about what we've got here. So in this example, I've got AS500 here, so a number of routers, but the routers at the edge are SJ or San Jose, San Francisco, and LA. How do we know this is a Cisco example, right? And in addition to AS500, we've got three other ASs shown here, AS100, 200, and 300. So this example shows that AS100, and I don't show the router there, but it's peered to SJ and AS500. So that's an external BGP connection. And similarly, there's a router that's not shown in AS200 externally peered with SF or San Francisco, and there's a router here in AS300 not shown peered with LA or Los Angeles. So off to the left here, we're showing that there's a network 1/8 that's known to AS100. It's somewhere down the line. We don't say how far down the line. Maybe more AS hops here, but AS100 has a path to 1/8 that now it will advertise through this eBGP connection to SJ. Okay, so in this example then, SJ will learn the route to network 1/8 from AS100. And recall, as the route is advertised from AS100 to SJ and 500, then the value 100, its AS number, will be prepended or put at the front of the AS path. And that lets SJ know that to follow that route, it would have to go through AS100 first, and then whatever else is in the AS path before it reaches the destination network. Right? So, as the path comes into SJ for network 1/8, this is an externally learned path. So SJ now, even with the split horizon rule, is eligible to advertise that path to its iBGP peer, SF. Now, SF is in the same AS500 as SJ. So SJ, as it advertises this path onwards, it will not prepend the AS number of 500 because it has not left the AS. There's no change in AS. Right? Now, clearly, as the route is here in SF, if SF were then allowed to share this back or advertise this back to SJ, clearly that would be a routing loop. So let's say that doesn't happen, but even so, SF, according to the split horizon rule, is not allowed to advertise this forward to LA, because now, as far as SF is concerned, that route is an internally learned route, so therefore it cannot re-advertise that to another internal peer. So suppose, what if SF were allowed to share this route with LA? Well, then LA could potentially share this route eventually back with SJ. And SJ wouldn't know whether this was its own original route, like what we said couldn't happen, SF coming back to SJ, but now it's coming back this way via LA. So SJ wouldn't know whether this was the original route that it got and propagated through the AS500, or whether it was a new one somehow that LA had learned, if this internal to internal advertising were allowed. Right? So the split horizon rule stops that. Now, if LA, on the other hand, were to learn a route to the same destination externally via eBGP, let's say from AS300, then LA could advertise it to SJ. And that would be legal, even with the split horizon rule, right? Because it's coming in via external peering, and so LA then could advertise it to an internal peer. Because in this case, right, there would be no risk of a routing loop. So going to the next slide, given that example that we just talked about, then LA would not be eligible then to learn about the path to 1/8 from SF. In other words, SJ learning this path can share it with SF, but LA wouldn't know about it unless there was this extra dotted line here, this internal peering, directly with SJ to LA. So this is what this bullet is saying. That the only way LA can learn about this route and then share it onwards externally is for SJ to advertise it directly to LA. So they have to be IBGP peers. So therefore, in general, for all the internal BGP routers in any AES to gain full BGP routing knowledge, they all must be connected together in a logical full mesh. And here in purple, we're just reminding you that you can get the full mesh even if you're not directly connected, right? Because IBGP peers only need to be connected via TCP connection. So in other words, without this extra dotted connection, then BGP routing in this scenario would be incomplete, since the external routes learned here from SJ would not get over to LA due to split horizon. Now, in case you're wondering, as soon as we talk about full mesh, remember we're talking about order n squared types of connections, right? Where n is the number of routers we're talking about. So, as you probably guessed, this has a huge resource impact on scalability. Therefore, in practice, to avoid the scalability issues with these full mesh types of connections, then in large networks, BGP route reflectors and confederations will be implemented instead of having this full mesh idea. And that is outside the scope of this course, but I mention it to ensure you understand that as the size of the network scales, there are other methods that will then help you out. And you can look that up and research that as need be.